Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Aquarian Anarchy, and we're here with Marcus and Chad. And just like the other 2 weeks or whatever this is, we'll be putting out a special, and we're here to interview my boy Marcus. But before we go in depth, please hit that like, that subscribe, and that little bell icon so that you can still rock with us. And also check our Patreon. We have those free shipping. Like, come on now, who don't want free shipping on something? But as we go into this, I'd like to
two shares to speed the spread.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
2 shares to speed the spread of our likeness on the spread on the YouTube channels and all the other stuff. But starting off, then how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm beautiful. Enjoying my time with the boys.
Nice.
Go.
So bring it, guys. What you got?
All right. Well, since I don't got too many questions, I wanted to go a little bit into your upbringing. So your upbringing, you've had a lot of spiritual things in your life in that nature. You said you were doing tarot at one point.
Still doing tarot.
What? Yeah, and so you still do. So like, what? When did you get your first deck and all that, things of that nature? Like, how'd you fall in love with tarot and getting into this?
Well, it was actually a long process that started when I was about 10 or so. I was sitting in church with my parents. My parents were Christians. And the minister said that if you wear black, listen to heavy metal, and have long hair, you're going to hell. And I looked at myself and I'm like, I'm going to hell. So I said, so I stood up and walked out. And my dad beat my ass.
Was he looking at you when he said it?
No, but I got the message.
You saw him in the pews.
Right. And
you saw him in the pews.
So my dad beat my ass and was like, maybe you should check, but not because I judged or was like, fuck all this, but because I had embarrassed him in church, and we can't be doing all that. But so they suggested that I check out other religions, and that was their words. Why don't you check out other religions? They meant check out the Catholic Church, and if you're really weird, check out the Jews. And I went, all right, cool. So I checked out Buddhism, Hinduism, paganism, Satanism. I looked into all the isms and anities they had out there, and it led me
all I got to was the Church of Today, and I was like, hey.
right. I did the fucking which is similar. I did the Universal Life Church too, and got kicked out. It was anyway. The side note, got kicked out of that church because they're liberal as shit, and I've never been. Not really. I've been. So anyway, I got kicked out of that church. I got kicked out of Unity because I thought we were going to steal some shit. When I was a kid, because we're all kinds of, one of the things that we've talked about is our connection to the black community. And I was connected to the black community back in the day. I was carrying a gun and right. And I was doing some shit. And so I was into, so they thought we were stealing shit at the Unity, and we were trying to buy candles and bullshit, because I was interested in magic and spirituality and what have you. So my spirituality got kicked off when I read several books on my senior year of high school. And the teacher had sent out like a list of stuff that we could do a report on. And one of the topics was witchcraft. And I said, oh, I'll do that, thinking I was going to learn a bunch of shit about Satanism. And I found Wicca. And it made a bunch of sense to me at the time. I really wanted a good religion. I wanted something that was, it hit your heart. And so I dove into it hardcore, and long story short, one of the first things that I bought while looking into witchcraft and what have you. And the funny thing is, I went into this one comic book store that they said sold witchcraft stuff. Couldn't find anything in there. But that's because I was expecting like a big tome, not like regular books, you know. So, but anyway, one of the first things I bought was a tarot deck. And early on, I met a woman who, her name was Debbie, and she taught me a little bit about magic and different things. And one of the things she did that was very helpful is she told me, start studying the like underneath meanings of the tarot and find what they mean symbolically and use that as a guide for your spirituality. And I did that, and that led me eventually to join a group called the Ordo Templi Orientis, or the OTO. And the conspiracy theorists are going to go nuts on me and think I'm all kinds of Illuminati. I want my country now. Give me a country. We'll be a voluntarist country. Get the fuck out of all this bullshit. Give me my country now. But so I got involved with the OTO, which gave me a foundation in spirituality around Aleister Crowley, got into his explanation of the tarot, which massively impacted me. And at some point, Nico, we'll get together and I'll read you a little story by Crowley that explains all the symbolism in a little fairy tale.
Yeah, my aunt actually has an Aleister Crowley deck, and nice. I loved it. It was really unorthodox, and I was like, this is confusing and it represents me. I want it now.
Yeah, it's a good deck.
I might try and go like look for one. Hopefully there'll be one out there. I want
it's the second most popular deck. So and behind the Rider-Waite, it should be relatively easy to find. So
I'm so disappointed because like if we didn't have this Christmas party, I was totally prepared. I was going to be recording this episode. I was going to be sitting by my fire pit with a fire going. And this was going to be like us sitting around a fire talking, and it was going to be a lot more open-ended. And I feel bad because like there's so many things I wanted like.
It's okay. We can most definitely get it.
We don't have time.
But we're
going to have to do that. We have to do that one day. Actually, what we need to do is we need to plan to actually be in person and do this and actually sit around a fire.
I have a fire pit out back.
Yeah, there we go. Me too. So wherever we go.
So that's how I got into my spirituality, which eventually would lead to voodoo, and which is funny because all of everything up until that point, until I got into voodoo, was very organized and very structured. And voodoo really has a structure, but it's not as give me a drum, I'm good. That's my spirituality. That's my meditation. But in all of that, all of my spirituality directly led to my involvement in voluntarism and thinking about anarchy.
Okay, well, that was actually one of my questions I was going to have about how you found anarchism, but that kind of got us there.
More in depth.
I want to know about like your funeral services stuff and that,
right
like how that stuff because that kind of that's like a different. First of all, like why did you decide that was something that you wanted to explore, and then I know you've talked about how it has helped to kind of enlighten you on certain things
for sure,
and relative to government, but also relative to some other stuff about spirituality and some of the other things. So talk a little bit about that. Like answer that question first. Like why was that something that you were like, hey, you know what? I think I want to become a funeral director.
Well, I just want to look at dead bodies.
That's right.
Because that's like last on my list. Like that, and like I don't want to be a nurse or a doctor or anything. I hate like broken. I get queasy about that shit. I don't want to see that stuff. That's for other people to do. My sister's a nurse, and I'm like, no, you can change people's bedpans and like when they shit on themselves and all that stuff. Like you can take care of that. I'm gonna be in the waiting room over here. You can.
I've done over 100 embalmings. I'm good. Yeah, I know.
That's 101 more than I want to do.
Yeah. So the answer is couplefold. One, I was about probably 4 years deep into practicing voodoo when I decided to become a funeral director. And in voodoo, you get to know a particular Loa, which is the name for the voodoo gods that are associated with you. When I first did that, I wanted Shango or Damballa, which are the voodoo and Santeria gods of Shango is like a king god, and Damballa is a god of truth. And I wanted them. And when I found out what I had, I got G'day, who is a rude, loud, pouring out rum, wearing a top hat.
I'll say he a nigga.
Right, that dude is just he is rude as shit. He's a great guy though, and so I was like, yeah, I love him to death, but he rules over death, and so I've always had a penchant to want to help people. It's just part of who I am. I want to help people. And that is one place where people need the most help, is when they have lost someone. And I play and I like to laugh, but really when somebody's in trouble, I think I'm pretty good at, and y'all have experienced some of this. I'll be the first one to be like, okay, how can I help? What can I do? Where can I, help you in this particular situation? And that want to help really fueled that need. But it did lead to, at the same time as I was doing my first real long written thing was done while I was in school to be a funeral director, and I wrote a term paper basically on the evils of government.
Wow.
I was a Ron Paul supporter at the time, and my wife, to make a very, very long story short, converted me from being pretty much a neocon, because I started off as an anarchist-ish, about communist anarchist, and then became and I mean, when anarchist, I mean like the anarcho-communist. And then 9/11 happened, and I went, fuck, and became a conservative.
That's how I was. I was like, I voted for Clinton in 92, and then I was like voting for Bush in 2004. I didn't vote in 96 or 2000.
Right.
So
yep, same. And so then basically she converted me from being anarchist, or from being a conservative neocon and really opened my eyes to what Ron Paul was talking about with the understanding of the Fed and those kinds of things, I was with you, Chad. I didn't like his foreign policy initially. And what's funny is, like most converts, that's like my main thing right now. I'm like, fuck more.
Same here. Like once you get that, that like, it's like this deep sleep that you're in. And like when you go to the dentist and like that, it doesn't wake up for a while and everything. Like, once you can finally drink and hold the water in your mouth again, right, you're like, I'm never supporting another war again.
Right, for sure. And that is exactly what happened. But yeah, what really made me an anarchist, though, was funded and started with becoming a funeral director, because I really did a lot of research and looked into things, and Glenn Beck helped me a lot. It's weird to think.
Isn't that crazy? Because that's where I came from. It's crazy. I found about what's his name, Andrew Wilkow, on XM Patriot. Like they were on the same, like, back to back or something like that. And that's how I found about Bastiat's The Law. And Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt was from Andrew Wilkow through Glenn Beck, and then they were both shitting on Ron Paul in 2012, and I was like, whoa, wait a second, how can you recommend these books
and then shit on the guy that's talking about it?
Right, exactly. It's crazy.
So
the guy who embodies that stuff the most.
Right. But once you, and the only industry that's probably more so than the funeral industry at seeing the ass rape that happens to business than the funeral industry.
Watch out, you talking about funeral industry and ass rape.
Ass rape.
There's some weird shit that goes on in that.
Right, for sure. But the only industry that's probably worse is probably now the marijuana industry.
Yeah.
The regulations and bullshit that they put on funeral directors is absolutely out of.
I didn't realize that. I would have never known.
I'd like to say, I believe in anything regarding money around death is bullshit, but I do agree with you doing what you do and helping people out with choosing certain things. But
right.
I think funerals should ultimately be free. Like, why do I have to pay to.
Well, because you have a
Yes.
building to put, the thing is, you have to put the building together. You have to put the services together. That's not cheap.
Mhm.
All of that. But what winds up happening, and you've fallen prey, Nico, to what it happens and why they passed a bunch of legislation to restrict and control the funeral industry, is people see that big long car, they see the really fancy stuff, and they think, oh, well, they're these big, no, they might be driving a Chevy, you know, in the regular life, but they have to have these things for the business, and
Mhm.
and the owner are two very different things.
Mm.
So it put me on that for sure.
I don't know. I live on a lake. We're gonna just like I'm gonna put my people out to sea.
Right.
Oh wait,
Oh,
no,
no,
it's a small
just gonna
man-made
be-
lake. It's probably not gonna work very well.
I'm gonna be brought back as a tree so my
Yeah.
kids can see me. So I'm like,
See, I'm
"You
gonna
know,
be-
But I
I'm gonna be a tree.
can put my own pyre together though. So like we can
Right.
do that. Like we've already talked about it. Like my mother-in-law, my wife, and me, we've all talked about it. We're like, I just just cremate me and sprinkle my ashes on the lake. I'm good.
Right.
We're
Yeah. What's
fertilizer,
fun?
give the
Right.
fish to nip at
See,
you."
what's fun is I am going to be a tree. There is a special pot that you can buy that has a tree seed in it, and you
Mhm.
plant that. Me and my wife are going to be planted on either side of like a bench or something like that, so that our tree branches grow together. And so I'm going to be a tree. I will be the fertilizer for a tree. And most funeral directors would hate that because they want the big expensive craziness, and cremation is cheap. So a lot of my path also came about via Adam Kokesh.
Mm.
You know, what's funny is I've grown an awful lot in the past 2 years. I've known Adam for I guess going on 3 years now. And you know, when I met him, yes, I had read, like, my biggest influence was Thomas Paine. It's probably still true, but I hadn't read a lot of economic books. I called myself an anarchist at the time, told Adam when I met him that I was an anarchist. But most of the anarchist stuff I had read was stuff like Emma Goldman and more left-leaning anarchist stuff. But since then, I've read Spooner, I've read Rothbard, I've read Mises, I've read Hayek, and so what's funny is I started off as an anarchist and learned economics after that. And so it's an interesting perspective when people start arguing. And one of the things that it did for me, being that I do have a bit of an anarcho-communist background, is it made me appreciate the other side of anarchy and attempt to try to start building bridges to that amongst the different people. Now, I've come to agree more with Rothbard or Mises or Hayek, but I think it's important that, again, the Black community would be a huge asset in the fight for liberty. So would anarcho-communists, because at the end of the day, they do not believe in government, and we need to all get together and then deal with our business after we've gotten rid of the biggest enemy the world has ever known, named the state.
Yeah. Other thing that I want to talk to you about was what you call it, your interest in hobbies, like what you like to do. You like to draw, you like to sip and paint, what you
like to
get
drum.
into.
Yeah, do you like to drum? I actually do all that stuff. I like to smoke my weed. Now that I can smoke weed again, that's a beautiful thing.
So for real, like you're like unlocked.
I'm good.
You've been unlocked. Smoking weed.
Yeah. So So we're good. So that's fun. And because my job tested, my newer job tested when I began, but it doesn't test after that, and I am officially good. So I am
Okay.
Yeah, so there's that, and I do actually draw quite a bit. I initially, when I was in my 20s, went to school to be an artist, and so I do a bunch of drawing. The best thing I've ever done was actually done in funeral school. We had a skull that was like a plastic skull that gave us but there's reconstruction wax that you use when somebody's face is all mangled,
right,
to build it back up. Well, I used that wax, like a bunch of it, to create a face that is half skull and half human, which is G'day. And if I applied,
that's dope. Yeah.
If I applied makeup to the human side, because right now it's just the wax, if I applied makeup, it would look like a human being. It's one of the best things I've ever done.
That's awesome. Yeah. One day we're gonna have to see that thing.
Right. Oh,
you need to put you need to get a makeup artist or something like that, and make that happen. And for the culture.
Beyond that, the most important thing for me, I enjoy gardening. My wife is a better gardener than I am, and I generally do like the hard labor crap. I till it and I build shit and I do all that kind of stuff. She's better at the gardening part. But my biggest, I guess, hobby, if you will, the most important thing in my life is my beautiful wife. I am absolutely and completely devoted to her. She is the best thing that has ever happened to me. She is an amazing human being who blesses my life every single day. And one of the things she did was, I have 4 beautiful children, one of which was born by her, all 4 of which belong to her. She loves them with all of her heart, just like I do. And my family is my life. I love them. They are everything that is goodness in this world, and it is because of them that I fight. It is because of them that I want a world set free in my lifetime, because I don't want my 10-year-old little girl to have to deal with this bullshit when she's my age.
Hell yeah. That's that. I mean, that's where I am too. That's awesome. Well, so one of my questions I actually had was, how and where did you meet Amber?
Well, the long story, but to get to the story is, I was actually dating another girl, and we met at a friend of mine was putting together a meditation session at his house, and said, hey, you should come over, because he was interested. We were doing magical stuff, and he was interested in that stuff. And he did a bunch. He was more of an Eastern shamanic, like Native American plus Indian, Hindu stuff, New Agey. Anyway, he said, why don't you come over and check out what I'm doing? And I'm like, all right, cool. And what's funny is I just knew that I was about to meet somebody.
Oh, wow.
That I wish I had said it to somebody so I could prove it, but I knew that I was about to meet someone that would be important. I didn't know that I was about to meet my soulmate, but I knew that I was about to meet somebody important. So I went to this meditation and I met Amber, and she didn't like me, like at all. Like, I didn't know this at the time.
You sound like Corey now.
Right.
Corey's wife didn't like him early on either.
Yeah, but what's funny is the second time that I went, because all of these people were extremely interested in the magical stuff that I was doing. Amber was interested in specifically in Kabbalah, but the second time I went, I was having a struggle, and I kind of in the meditation like broke down, and I was like, real sad, and it humanized me, I think, to her, instead of me being because my friend had introduced me, and his name was Tim. He had introduced me as this leader of an occult group, and da 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 da, and I had all these, and it's so, you can imagine I come in like dun, 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 because they're thinking I practice voodoo and all the, so.
Like Gimli, the warrior dwarf.
Right, exactly, with magic. That's exactly it. And so but when I kind of broke down and showed my emotions, it killed all that. And Amber got to see me for who I was.
Oh wow. Oh, so she was kind of like turned off by the reputation that had preceded you.
Correct.
Okay.
And and I'm an arrogant ass. I just am. Right. I just am. And but over,
I have a hard candy shell too, for what it's worth. Like it's
right. Yeah. And we all do.
Yeah.
We all do. I think it's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But over time, we got to know each other, and she became literally my best friend. I was still dating the one girl who was her name was Lynn. She was a nice woman. I don't have anything against her. But long story short, I fell in love with Amber. And so I told Lynn.
Lucky for you, she fell in love with you too.
Right. That is exactly it.
That's how you've described it. I don't know how many times.
Right. And because like she is way hotter than I should be able to get. I'm telling you. And so
it's
so
52
like,
boys. 52.
Okay.
Oh, about that time.
No. We got a couple minutes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So at the end of the day, what basically happened with Amber is I told my girlfriend at the time that I was in love with Amber, and but I have to give credit. A friend of ours, Willow, had told me a couple weeks before this that Amber was in love with me. This was a mutual friend, and I went, "That's possible." That was that. Really? Oh, hell no.
You didn't have to make that little piece of paper with, "Do you like me?"
Right. No.
Yes, check.
Right. So we started dating in January and we're married in June.
That's awesome.
Yep. Knew immediately. She is she is my soulmate. And she is my guide in everything. She gets this voluntary shit usually before I do. I get to it, but I gotta think about it. She just knows it by heart.
That's awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah. Not everybody gets that lucky.
I know.
Not at all. Not at all. But Nico, the thing is, since you do sit down, what happened now?
I wish that for you. I hope.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, man. That's a conversation for another day. That's a conversation for another day. What you call it? No, that's real. That's love. You sit down and you're able to meditate on things. Once you're able to resonate on a higher frequency, other people are able to connect and get in tune with that. So once you're able to understand a different wavelength and perceive different wavelengths, different opportunities will provide itself.
Right.
That's a blessing. That's a true blessing, my boy.
And speaking of soulmates who we love and all that kind of stuff, there's one waiting for me downstairs who is like fit to be tied that we have not left yet for this party. So it's my fault because I screwed up the thing and we went 20 minutes of like not recording.
It's okay
stuff,
though. It's
so
okay.
we're gonna
forget to your wife, Jack. Go to Christmas.
I'm taking that L for myself, but no, look, hey, that was. I still feel like we're just scratching the surface with each of these. Like I don't know. I feel like I did. I told you a lot of my story.
We said a lot, but said a little.
I don't feel like I heard anywhere near what I need to hear from you guys. So I really look forward to delving into these little "Who Are You" interviews, the X-Men origin stories of Aquarian Anarchy, because this has been great. And anyway, I appreciate y'all being gracious to like let me get out of here when I can.
Go have fun, Chad.
I need to bounce. So we'll remind everybody one more time to like, to subscribe, to hit the bell icon so you get the notifications when the new episodes come out, to go to the Patreon and subscribe there so that you can get on the Telegram chat and all sorts of other stuff. We had Daryl come in on that just this past week, and we have already got a shirt that he is he was the inspiration behind. Marcus designed it. It's a beautiful thing. Make America Rebel Again. So go to the merch store, look there for that stuff, and don't forget, before you bounce out of this episode, 2 shares to speed the spread. Let your friends and family see this. Anybody who you think is on the edge and might want to become an anarch, drop drop the line and let them see what we have in store for them, and remind them anarchy is peace, anarchy is love. This is avoiding and freeing ourselves from force and corruption and coercion and fraud is the way. So we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. I guess at this point, by the time this episode airs, Christmas will have come and gone. Hope you had a great Christmas, and I wish you a great
Kwanzaa.
2021. And we'll be right in the middle of Kwanzaa. Habaragani. Let's go.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, we wish everybody the best and a great 2021. God, I hope 2021 is better than 2020 for most people. I will speak for myself. 2020 has actually been amazing. Like, with all the bullshit that we've had to deal with, getting to do this with you guys, I can't even begin to describe like how cool, how awesome of a journey this has been. And I'm really glad that we got to like do this little thing with each other before the year wrapped up, because I'm gonna get choked up here. I'm gonna have to choke these things back. But no, I really like. It has been it's been a big part of my life. Like, looking forward to this when we record every week, and then seeing the response that we've gotten. To be perfectly honest, like, I'm just gonna be straight a buck with everybody right now. Like, I was bored, and Marcus had been asking me to come on his show, and I never had time. I was always traveling, I always had something going on, and we were in lockdown, and I was like, hey man, I'm like stuck at the house, like I can't go anywhere. Like, I'm down if if you're still down to have me on the show. That was back in April. And then we started, like, we're trying to move. Like, I did an episode where, like, you saw, like, all the books gone from the bookshelves behind me and everything. I never, in my wildest dreams, did I expect for things to become what they've become. And it's been an incredible journey. And, like, honestly, like, when we brought Nico, you're one of those, like, examples. Like, that was, like, the first or second episode that I shared with Nico. And Nico was like, hey, man, I saw your show. I really liked it. I was interested in this, and I was interested in this. And I was like, oh, shit, man, you'd have loved to listen to our conversation after we went off. And so, like, Nico's part of that. And then, like, Nico joins, and, like, I can't help but think that, like, the some of the response that we've gotten to has been from that. So it's been amazing. It's been a great year, and I'm extremely appreciative of the opportunity to join you, Marcus, and Nico.
Same. I'm super grateful. Chad, I'm trying to save your life. It's probably 7 on the dot.
Hell out of here, dude.
She just walked in here. I gotta go.
Get on back.
Love y'all.
Love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Peace.
And stay free, my friends.
Yes,
yes, sir. Peace.